This is the fourth video being made here of the translation of the interview with my mother, who is shown here as she was in Warsaw in her youth. And I will continue here with the interview. Let's see now. Oh, starting. Did this interview in 1993 or 1997? Have you eaten? Yes. So this is at the Bakefest Old People's Home in Toronto that I'm interviewing Cyrla Goldsheider, who is Sylvia Weisfeld, my mother, and the Bundist from Warsaw. She escaped from the Warsaw Ghetto to join her brother, who was in the Russian forest, and provided a sanctuary for escapees who didn't know otherwise where to go. So a lot of the reason why Jewish people in the ghettos didn't try to escape is because they didn't know where to escape to. Because all the countries around them, close by, except for Russia, were anti-Semitic or under the tutelage of the Nazi regime. Even Hungary, which was a sanctuary until 1944, most of the Jewish population was killed in Auschwitz after the Zionist leader, Kastner, failed to tell the people that they were about to be killed. And cooperated with the Nazis in order to secure the release of 1,843 Zionists, and rich people who could pay the ticket of 2,000 at the time. Okay, waiting for Cyrla to come back. Oh, here she is. I say, how are you? Good? How are you doing?
Okay. Eerste, ik ga de vragen.
First, I'm going to ask you
De nummer van Dane Mitte.
First, I'm going to ask you the name of your mother.
Van Goldsheider.
Yeah, Goldsheider.
So she relates that her mother's name was Goldsheider.
Weizfeld Goldsheider.
Weizfeld.
Yeah.
Een middelnummer?
Weizfeld Goldsheider was her mother's name.
Weizfeld.
No.
Weizfeld Goldsheider. Yeah.
Weizfeld Goldsheider was she called. She was called Weizfeld Goldsheider in English grammar.
Kijk eens, kid. Ja, eens kijken.
Is it working well? Yes, it's working. Oh, it's heavy. My mother was picking up my briefcase, not a briefcase, but my thick leather Quebecois carrying case.
Celia had eens gevonden op de trein. Dat is gekomen. Ja, het
And now she's talking about another item, which I explained to her. My son, Sally, her grandson, found it on the train.
gevonden. Daar zit.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Ja, en
And just so you
Yes, she says somebody had forgotten it.
Als een nieuwe.
Ja, ze hebben das gesagt.
And then she says, is this being recorded? And I said, yes, you are being heard.
Ja, das ist darin getragen.
Oh,
Aber das lässt es nicht. Sorry. Weizfeld Goldsheider.
ja, en
Goldsheider ist nicht die Nummer von deiner Mutter?
mijn foto's-nummer, ja.
So I said, Cyrla Goldsheider, isn't that the name of your father? And she says, yes, that's the name of my father.
Das had ik gevraagd.
Ja, van mijn foto.
Ja, nou, ik heb gevraagd de nummer
So that's how he was called, wasn't he? Yes.
van deiner Mutter.
But what is the name of your mother's family name?
Van die ouderen.
Nee, ja.
From her elders?
Dat is anders geleden.
Maar
But her elders were not living anymore.
dat is de nummer. De nummer is weg.
Friedman,
Yes, but we want to know the names.
dat zeg maar.
Friedman.
Ja.
Oh,
Friedman was her mother's maternal family name, Friedman.
dat is niet gezegd, dat is vriend. Hè?
Oh, you never told me that before, I said to her. Friedman means a free person, Friedman.
Ze dat zeg maar. Ja,
Verhaal.
And she says, yes, that's what I remember.
De nummer.
Niet verhaal van start zeg maar. Je hebt er een moe van Friedman. Maar kunnen mensen gaan praten start zeg maar. En de boek van de mama staat op de reis van Friedman.
Ja.
So I heard people talking sometimes, and I understood that from my mother's side, the family was called Friedman. Do you understand? My mother.
Ja.
Yes.
Oké, en de foto's nummer is gewoon Goldsheider.
Ja.
En deine foto's gewoon, zijn eerste nummer is gewoon was.
Avond.
Abraheim.
Ja, even.
So your father's family name was Goldsheider. And what was his first name? And she said Avram. So I said, so your father's name was Avram?
Abraham. Abi.
Which is where I get my name from, Abraham. Avram is Yiddish for Abraham. A short form Yiddish, a Yiddish short form of Abraham. In English, it's called Abi. A-B, for some silly reason.
Ja.
Zijn er middelnummer?
Nee, nee.
Nee, niet. Nee.
And then I say, so what was his middle name? And she said, no, he didn't have any other name.
Had je geen middelnummer?
Nou,
Dat was niet.
He didn't have a middle name. And she says, no. And I say, why?
we zijn meegenomen.
Dat was.
She replies, why a middle name, you know?
Dat is het laatste. Een middelnummer, zo heb je mijn middelnummer. Had je
A middle name like my middle name. My middle name is Yecheskel, which is the name of another grandfather, the paternal grandfather. My mother and my father, I heard, were disputed whether or not to have the maternal grandfather's name first or the paternal grandfather's name first. And of course, my father wanted the paternal grandfather's name to be first, but it wasn't. My mother insisted, and she wrote into the birth certificate her father's name to be my first name. That's what you call a Bundist. Nobody pushes you around.
had geen middelnummer.
Avondje.
Avramke, je weet, men had je geen andere nummer.
Nee.
So in Yiddish, when you're young, you know, he would have been called Avramke, which means small or young Abraham. And that was it. There was no other name.
Dat was niet.
In Goldsheider.
Goldsheider, oké, dit ken ik. Oké,
So she says, no other name, you know, just Goldsheider. And I said, yeah, okay, you know, Abraham Goldsheider, that's good enough.
Gemeen religieus.
Was he religious?
Oh yeah.
Aha.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
En je weet, geld hier had geholpen, kranke mensen.
Oh, and he was a healer. Krankhealer. Ill people he went to heal because doctors were not available, I guess.
Die gaan messen de heat, geven een
He would measure their temperature
pil, een pilletje, een pil.
Ja.
Ja.
and he would give them pilke, a little pill.
Das hat gehalten sehr stark. Und zu mir so gewesen sehr gut.
And in that he was very strong. He was recognized as being very strong. And to me, he was very good.
Also, ich got the best toys, the skipping horses we use yet.
And I had the best toys, a skipping rope.
So wird dann sicher
Ah.
skipping
Oh ja.
in andere Sachen.
Had ik er last spelen?
And other things. And she said she had other things as well. And I said, oh, so he let you play.
Ja,
Had er
aber
niet
enkel
gezegd?
auf der Heu
Mhm.
gespielt, ja.
In disco.
Yes, and she said, I played in the Heights as well. And I said, so he didn't try to forbid you?
Point in jiddische Gegend.
Ja,
And you lived in a Jewish area? Yes, yes.
Aha. Had ik er last te spelen met de kinderen die zijn niet gewend jiddisch?
Did he let you play with children who were not Jewish?
sind nicht gewesen, es muss ich eben mal sehen.
Dit was gegaan
There weren't any, you know, it was mostly Jewish people.
naar school.
Die public school, ja.
And in the school? And she said, yes, in the public school.
Ja, die was gegaan naar de public school.
Ja,
Hoeveel
So you went to public school? Yes.
uren?
6 jaar.
Ja.
5, 6 years of schooling she had. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't remember that. Huh.
Als hoeveel? Dat is gelijk in Polish.
Polish, ja.
So you learned Polish? She said, yes, Polish, yes.
Dat is gelijk in Jiddisch.
Jiddisch een beetje.
Ze gewinnen
And Yiddish, did you learn Yiddish? And she says, Yiddish, a little bit in school.
Jiddische school.
Nein, private in Stieb.
So that was in a Jewish school? And she says, no, private in the home.
Ik heb de voet gelaan. Dus,
Ah.
And the father taught me a little.
Aha. Dus bist nicht gegangen zur school.
nein, ze zijn niet gewesen. Ze gewesen Jiddisch met Polish.
Ja.
Dat ze dachten gewesen.
So you weren't in school? She says, there were schools in which there was Jewish and Polish students.
Ik kan niet gedenken, zo.
Dus geen van de raken.
I can't remember very well. And so I asked her, were you with the rich students?
Ik ga naar showtime. Maar ik denk niet zo met alles gedaan.
So she said she went to school for a short time, but she doesn't remember everything that she learned.
Wat is
Hebrew dat had ze ja, zeg maar.
Hebrew?
Dat had ze ja.
Ja.
Die kent die. Maar zo is het.
But my father spoke to me in Hebrew. He knew Hebrew very well.
Cijfer. Dus is een bier.
Ja.
Maar zo.
The way it seems like he's spoken only in certain words, like he would say that something was taif, you know, not kosher, or
Zo is er
Oh,
een
ja.
kop.
Ja.
En reglaaien. Jadaaien.
Oh, die wijst Hebreeuws.
Ja, we zijn goed op gedaan.
Oh, ja.
so she mentions a couple of other Hebrew words that I don't know myself. And so I say to her, oh, so you know Hebrew? He says, yeah, some words that my father taught me.
Een lidsvol. Afloor. Dat is het.
Die wijst meer en
Kessen.
meer.
Ja, die zaken moest op gedaan. Alles verschreven.
Ja.
And so I said, so you know more than me? And she says, yes, those things that, you know, I learned in the home.
Ik ben een teacher.
Oh, is een teacher.
So he was a teacher, you know.
Wie?
Bij een voertuig in private.
So he was a teacher in a private sphere. He did private teaching in homes.
Dat de raarste kinderen.
Oh, aha.
Ja.
Was hat die gemacht allein?
Ja, ja, ze geweest met
So he used to go to do home teaching to children who were in rich homes. And I said, so that's how he made a living? And she said, yeah.
mensen in mijn kinderjongens heel wit. Ja,
Hoeveel kinderen is gedaan?
ze geweest maar met de gestorven met je 400 kinderen.
And then he would have a class as well with 4 or 5 students, children.
Ze had 8, 9 kinderen. En
Ja.
die zijn met haar, dat breed dan dus weg.
Now it's 8, 9 students.
Esther, hebben, Maya, do maar breed dat. De eerste picture. Een mensen.
So she's referring to a photo of Meyer and saying that he's a nice, beautiful man.
Mijn dochter.
Ja.
Ja.
Hij is bezat ik Rantewet.
No,
Hij is gewinn echter.
hij is de rechter voor de rechter, maar het geschreven.
So I said, he's the one who saved you. She said, no. I said, he was the first who went out of the ghetto. And she said, yeah.
En dat had toewerkt meteen misschien gebrengt, ja. Mocht zieke passen aan de geweigerd, aan de vrij. En we gaan het samen.
So somebody had taken him out before. And with his friends, probably Bundists, she went together with them.
Hij is bij Maya.
Maya, ja. Ja.
So that was Meyer, your brother.
Morris of Polish.
Morris of Polish.
Max.
Max.
Was a Max. Maya's Max.
So in Polish, he would be called Max. That's his translation of his Yiddish name of Meyer.
Ja, je meint is Max, ja. Ik kan maar eens.
Ja, Max.
So nog belaat kinderen.
Ja.
Aha. En de method, ze had schwesteren, brederen?
Ja.
And your mother, did she have, sisters and brothers? And Cyrla answers, yeah.
Als het egal.
Yes, they had. And I say, how many?
Dat had een paar schwesteren.
A few sisters.
Laien in beetje huis. Een Laien, dan Hanne, de schwester.
One was Hannah, another was Esther.
Ja. Dat is mijn gevoel, zeg maar, in de wedstrijden voort.
Ja.
And we used to travel together, with the cheder, with the school kids.
Want ze ook in de poolers. En dan gaan we afgewoon op Shabbos en Zintigs. En dan gaan we dat zaten scharen.
When we didn't work on Saturday or Sunday, then we would go out into the country together.
Shabbos en Zintigs van macht.
On Saturday, Sunday, the stores were closed.
Ja, Laien.
No, ze machen met een rettenzacht dat men drinken.
Ja, drinken zacht.
No, neem door.
Yes, when you talk a lot, you should drink. You should drink something. And she says, yes, at nighttime I drink, So I think that's the end of this 4th video here.
Okay. Der heißt jetzt, wie es geht daran?
Ja.
Okay, Hand.
Okay, next video, I'll start, in a separate file. Oh, yes. I want to show you some of the photo collection that we have here. I'll share here and then we can go to, yes, let's go here and then I'll find it for you. Okay. Weizfeld. And interviews are here. Oh no, that's interview with Sally. Yes. Now, here they are. Sylvia and Charles Weisfeld. The taped interviews are here. Let's see if the photos are here for, yes, here they are. Yeah, let me show you some photos. This is an important photo here. Wonder if I can turn it for you. Ah. There. These are friends of my mother's in Warsaw. All these people. I've never heard or met them since then, so I presume that they were all killed in Auschwitz, in Treblinka, Buchenwald. I'll show you some other friends who. Here's one. Yeah. She also was lost. Never heard from again. Don't know her name even. Maybe it's on the back of the photo. See now, here's the back of the photo. Yes. Satani. Can't make it out. 1928. Yeah. 23rd of the 12th month of 1928. Here's another family. Friends of my mother's. Never heard from again. Don't know their names. The back of their card. Is this? Oh, here's some names. Wetzlar, 1947. Oh, these are people that she met in the refugee camp in 1947. Na Uminta of none. This is Polish. I can't read it. Sesha and Giel. And Giel. Yechiel. But Niches. Okay. Let's see now. What else do we have here? Oh, the back of the previous card is here. Either Polish or Russian in the 40s. Here's a beautiful. Yeah. This is my mother here and her girlfriend in Poland, Warsaw, before the Holocaust. My mother's picture right here. So you can have a full copy of the picture here that I've used in the background. Cosmopolitan woman. Sophisticated, intelligent, not very well educated, working in a shop, a Jewish shop. Working class woman, Bundist. Here's one. The style cosmopolitan style here with a tie, standing in a park in Warsaw. They didn't get to go out of the capital. The Jewish community were very urbane. They didn't have chalets and a country house and stuff like that, that the Christians would. Property was only allowed to be owned by Jewish people rather late in the feudal period. There. It's my mother again, Cyrla Goldsheider, ou Cyrla Friedman. Here. Oh, yes, this friend of my mother's. Beautiful, huh? Look at that. She was never heard from again. Lost as well. Here's the back of her photo. Let's see what it says. Nothing. Oh, there's a stamp. Oh, here's another friend of my mother's. Also wearing a tie. Woman wearing ties. Now, this is the, I think in the Wetzlar refugee camp, my mother, who was here, was working as a teacher in the kindergarten, as a caregiver. These are all children who survived. They look in pretty good health. They probably will. A lot of the refugees here, like my mother, came back from Russia, where they found refuge during the war. And because they didn't adopt Russian citizenship and kept their Polish citizenship, they were allowed to leave the USSR at the end of the war. So she went to work in this kindergarten, even though it was controlled by the Zionists. You can see the Hebrew on the back here, the palm tree showing Palestine. And then the Zionists came and tried to get all of these children to go to Palestine. And there was resistance to doing so, but when the Jewish people couldn't get a visa or like a refugee status in other countries like Canada, the United States, which rejected Jewish refugees fundamentally because of anti-Semitism. But my father had a sister who was a citizen in Canada before the war, and so being sponsored by that Jewish citizen of Canada, my mother, pregnant with me, because I was conceived in the refugee camp, came to Canada, were allowed into Canada, and I was born in Toronto. Now, see what else do we have here? Okay, here's Meyer. Here's Meyer Goldsheider. He's the Bundist organizer of the escape route from the Warsaw Ghetto that saved my mother and her younger sister as well. I'll show you the younger sister. This is Meyer Goldsheider. Meyer Goldsheider-Friedman. This is Meyer here. And these are all the women and a couple of men that were saved, by the underground railway that he had set up to save Jewish people from the Warsaw Ghetto so that they could escape into Russia. This is my mother. Notice her eyes well focused. Meyer too, eyes direct, concentrating, well focused. And this is a photo that was taken after my mother went back to the Warsaw Ghetto to save her younger sister who is here, Chava. She saved her younger sister, Chava, who was put in the front center as a commemoration for this event. And so a photo was taken of the Bundist here. Look at this woman. Wow, gorgeous. Okay. And yes, here, some more friends. Yes, in the Warsaw Park. Look at this woman. Yes, heavy duty. And my mother here. Yeah. They also were lost. Most were lost. In Poland, it was more than 90% of the Jewish population that were lost. And my family, more than 90%. That means out of the 200 in my mother's family and the 200 in my father's family, approximately, out of both of those families, there were 4 survivors, 4 out of 400. Here's another, oh, this woman, I know her. She survived. I have a story about her. Ah, yes, Wanda Waslawska. She was a cousin of my mother's who came to visit Toronto one time in 1968. And we met in my mother's kitchen, and I came home from school, introduced, and I started explaining to her what my political work was. But she was a political person in Poland. She was a screenwriter for a play that made a big impact in Polish culture. And then she worked as a news announcer on the Polish state radio, working for the Communist Party, of course, because she was a communist. But yes, this was the communist that she was mentioning in the first video. Yes, I know I got the connection. Okay. But in 1968, the Communist Party in Poland went anti-Semitic because their previous support for Zionism, they figured out, finally, after the war of 1967 was reactionary. So Moscow changed the political line, and the Polish Communist Party changed their line as well and turned anti-Zionist. But they did so in a way that was also anti-Jewish. So all the Jewish members of the party were expelled, including Wanda here. So she came to visit us in Toronto and then went on to live with her daughter who married an American. So she went to the United States and gave up on Poland. Now, Poland, I have documentation of my parents having come from Poland and having been born in Poland, whatever. And I applied, to Poland consulate here in Montreal, to have my citizenship recognized. So then I would have a European passport, of course. But they refused. The governor of the Warsaw Government refused my application for citizenship because even though my parents came from Poland, they refused to recognize that my parents were Polish citizens. Because just because you were born in Poland didn't mean that you were recognized as a Polish citizen. I think that you had to have, a baptismal certificate in order to be considered a citizen, because you had to be Christian to be considered a citizen, because, a Polish nation was defined, on a religious basis as being a Christian nation, which is, the state of, the government now in Poland as well. So my application for citizenship was refused by Poland, So, like Jewish identity and Jewish existence is still very problematic. Okay, so that's Vanda. And oh, yes. Here's okay. Here is Shoshana, the daughter of my mother's sister, Chava, who died, and she was married with Shoshana's father here, Hersh. And he hooked up with this other Jewish woman after his first wife died, and Shoshana's mother died of leukemia. And but Hersh, he was, a fanatic Zionist. He was the last survivor of his Ukrainian Jewish village. He went back there after the Holocaust, couldn't find anybody else. He was the last survivor of the village. So he didn't want to stay in the village because, of anti-Semitism. So he went to, guess where? Palestine, yes. So he became a soldier and he was fighting in the 1956 war. And he admitted to me after harassing me for years and years, for being an anti-Zionist and he being a pro-Zionist. Finally, he admitted to me in his later years that in 1956, he was ordered to kill, Egyptian prisoners of war, which he did. And I later found out that there were thousands of Egyptian prisoners of war who were killed, who were prisoners of war, unarmed, no threat whatsoever. And they were killed. And he was one of the soldiers, Hersh, who killed the Egyptian prisoners of war. And when he was telling me this, his daughter Shoshana came walking over. She saw us talking together, and he stopped talking. He wouldn't talk. He wouldn't let her know that he was telling me the truth, because he kept it from her, because he probably tried to educate her to be a Zionist. But she never went back, to the Zionist state. She stayed in Toronto and lost touch with the rest of the family. I guess she didn't want to be Jewish anymore. It's all sad. So I think that's about all of the pictures that I have, except for this one. I don't know if I should show you this picture. I should. Okay. These are Jewish police. You know what I mean? Jewish bands. They still wear the Jewish star. This is inside the ghetto in Lublin, Poland. And this person here is my uncle, Harry, the younger brother of my father, when my father came back into the Lublin ghetto. We'll get into this, when I do the translation of the interview with my father. But he comes back to the ghetto and he finds his younger brother working as a cop, sending Jewish people off to be slaughtered. So he pulled him out of there and he stopped him from being a cop and pulled him into Russia. This other Jewish cop here looks pretty bizarre. Anyway, that's the photo I didn't want to show you. So, like here's, a war criminal, but he was saved from being a war criminal. And then there was Hersh, who was a war criminal who got away with it in my own family. And now in my own family, I have, Zionist fanatics still, like Helen Daniels, who I don't speak to anymore. I just can't take it. These people are supporting a genocide of a nation that are so close to us. So can't sort of respect someone like that, to be able to sort of maintain any sort of human relationship with. Same with my cousin Harvey's wife, Ariella, a soldier, who refuses to say what she did when she was a soldier, claims that she was folding parachutes, which they're all told to lie about if they're ever asked, what they did as a soldier. Anyways, that's okay. And here's, I should show you this. Yeah, this is my father, who married my mother in the Warsaw camp, in the Wetzlar camp in Germany. When he came from another ghetto in the south of Poland, in Lublin. But originally he came from a little Jewish town called a Stadel. Stadel means a little town. It was called Bielki. And then all the Jewish people from the small town were taken and put into the ghetto in the big city, Lublin. And after that, Bielki disappeared. Nobody left. Okay. Now here, if this is what I think it is. Oh, no, this is the description for the engravings on the stone of my parents' grave. But I don't have a copy of the stone. I don't have a photo of the stone. I'll have to go and get it. Okay, I'll show you this too. This is me in Toronto, like around 1952. A happy kid, okay. So that's that. There you go. So that makes another recording. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but like this politics was getting in the way, this genocide, required all of my attention. But this has got to be done, and I've done it. Now there's 2 more interviews coming up with my mother, and then there's 2 interviews with my father.